Hey everyone, welcome to Founders 365 with me, Steven Haggerty. Today I am joined by Germaine Muller. He is the founder of Future Theory. And if you're watching the video, it's, the logo does just say Future the behind him, but he's working on it. How you doing today, man?
Good, thanks. Thanks for having me, Stephen. How are you today?
Yeah, man, good. Late for me, early for you, because you're all the way across the pond, like properly. I say across the pond to my American guests, but you're like properly across the pond.
Yeah, jump over continent, and
Yeah,
that's where we are. So,
24-hour flight, all of that stuff, all the good
oh,
stuff.
it's yeah, proper other side of the world. But it's good to join you. It's good to join
No,
you.
I appreciate your time and I appreciate you being here. The wonders of modern technology that we can even do this still blows my mind sometimes, but hey, hey.
Hey, exactly. I mean, given I was talking to someone yesterday on an interview for our own podcast, and coronavirus isn't amazing, but if there was any time in history where we can deal with it and cope with it much better, it's now because we
Yeah,
can meet and we can chat without having to actually physically be there together. So it's fantastic.
yeah, completely agree. I'm sure we will jump into the whole coronavirus topic in due course as well. But first and foremost, I would love to discover what is future theory? What are you guys about? How do you start? And what's your focus?
Yeah, awesome. So, Future Theory is a marketing, design, and website sort of consultancy based in Canberra, Australia. So we're in the capital of Australia. We like I said, focus on websites, marketing, design, branding, sort of the creative or design agency service offering. But our big thing is we take it from an angle of we make your goals come true. Now, it might sound like that's sort of what every marketing agency wants to do or should want to do, but we've found that all over the world, a lot of agencies actually pick something that looks nice and something that gets them kudos more or over something that necessarily generates the results. Because if you look at the big websites and accounts out there for say the McDonald's and the Nikes and the Pepsis of the world, we've found that at that high level, people and agencies are much more likely to say there's a Kendall Jenner Pepsi commercial, so they're much more likely to put the budget towards paying Kendall Jenner, who's part of the Kardashian family, rather than, let's say, execute on a campaign in a different way using, say, 10 influencers or micro influencers who would have been the same budget, but they sort of go for that higher claim stuff. If you're in the US, you always work towards the Super Bowl, sort of having a Super Bowl ad, a $5 million 10-second ad. So we take it. It's insane, and I feel like, and you read into what agencies do and how they're set up, and it comes out that most of them are they call them like banks, because they need to be able to get in a whole lot of money for their investors and then push out even more money. And that's sort of how they work. And most of them are owned by, one or two or three large groups around the world own a majority of the smaller ones. So there's no one independent. So that's sort of our difference. We don't outsource our web development, which is unheard of, because a lot of our competitors, outsource, charge $5,000 to $10,000 for a website, outsource it for $500, pocket the change, and go on to their next client.
In every agency, I think.
Oh, exactly. I mean, in the UK, it's the same thing. In the US, everywhere, that's just what they do. Where we care much more, and it's not that the others don't care, but we take an approach of we do it in house. That when you meet with us, you're meeting with the developer, you're meeting with the designer, you're meeting with the strategist, and that's how we do things. So we're very big on come into our office, let's have a chat, versus necessarily let's hop on Zoom or let's hop on Skype as sort of the first option. We do that because we work with clients from all over Australia and all over the world, but we take a much more personal approach to what we do and how we do things.
How have you found that personal approach in relation to the types of clients that you end up saying yes to?
Yeah, so what ends up happening, I find, is that we end up saying no to a lot more clients than you would think, because not everyone wants to meet, and not everyone. We meet a lot of people who just who were told by someone else, they're really time poor, these business owners, but they've been told, mate, get a website.
Yeah.
That will blow up your business, and all they want is a website. They don't care about anything else, which usually leads to us saying, sorry, we're probably not suited to working together, because we need someone who's invested in a website as say a marketing tool or a sales tool or a business development tool, not someone who wants a website because a website's what they were told they need, which is surprisingly a lot of people. So
Yeah,
we
I
end
was
up
about to say,
saying,
you still get that sort of mentality, even though the amount of information that is accessible to any single person on the planet. You still
oh,
get people that are just like, no, no, man, I just want a website.
it's crazy. It is crazy. I've had a number of people who, they're just getting started and want a $10,000 website because they were told they need a website that does X, Y, and Z. I was talking to, towards the end of last year, a guy who wanted to launch his own taxi company. Fantastic. But he was told that he needs to build a taxi platform, website that allows you to schedule the taxi, track taxis, et cetera, et cetera. Now, it's not rocket science for us. We could have done it, but he hasn't even sort of landed his first taxi client. So all I said to him was, just go out there, get business cards. We can design business cards for you, or spend $20 on Vistaprint, and go out there and find yourself 10 clients, and then come back to us.
Yeah, like stripping it back to like proper business, basically.
Exactly, just old school business, and then multiply the effects and the efficiencies by adding technology as a layer on top,
Yeah,
versus using technology as the business.
exactly. That's super refreshing to hear that from a marketing agency, because, like you said, I think there's, first and foremost, there seems to be every man and his dog owns a marketing agency of some
Mhm.
kind. They seem to be popping up everywhere, thanks to Russell and Sam. But it's so refreshing to hear that you still advising that sort of taxi app guy to be like, no, look, go and discover if this is a tangible product, because I'm willing to bet that he could have left your offers and gone to another person and ended up spending that 10K on a website, right? He could have done that. But for you, why is it so important to have like the values of your customers at the forefront? I know that's a ridiculous question, because why wouldn't you? But it's really, really
Yeah.
like,
Shouldn't everyone be doing that?
exactly. But that's
Shouldn't that be the core of
the key
business?
word, right? Is shouldn't everyone? Because let's face it, they don't.
Exactly. I mean, the thing is, I can easily, sometimes I still catch myself sort of going down the road of ego, for example. And by that I mean, oh, this client has a massive budget. Why don't we just make something that is just a website that is visual art? It's just beautiful. The animations are stunning. But then I got to catch myself and go, let's pare it back, and let's see how it tracks with business goals, because often these works of art are distractions,
Yeah.
if people could understand them at all. And at the end of the day, a website doesn't need to be a $10 million work of art. It needs to be the equivalent of 100 salespeople out there, or 100 help and support people. That's sort of what businesses need. And it also comes back to, I have this, a little bit of a big dream of just having as much of an impact as possible. And I know a lot of people have that sort of thought process, but I'm very well positioned, and we're very well positioned as a business to be able to provide that, because we use technology every day. We are in marketing, so we know how to multiply our voice and expand it across. So by underpinning what we do with what we believe are very solid sort of values and core beliefs, we can magnify this voice that is much more I guess, well positioned and well intended. It's just about, what we get in return. It's a bit selfish. People think we're being very, oh, that's so awesome that you guys do it. But to be honest, there's nothing better than hearing back from a client who said, "What, the business is growing, the business is doubled, the business is tripled, whatever it is."
It's like, why wouldn't you want to hear that just as a human? Why wouldn't you want to hear that?
Exactly. I mean, but a lot of other people would rather take the $5,000, pay someone $500 and give you what is. It is a website that you receive, but it's not the same thing. It's every website. It's just like every car is not the same thing.
It's a transaction, isn't it? Rather than
exactly
that business method is so transactional, whereas what you're saying you guys do is very much the transformational, the education, everything that comes with it, which is why you guys are where you are. And so my next question is, I would love to go back to the beginning, back to the beginning of Future Theory. And how did you start this? How did you start growing this business to where it is today?
Yeah, so back when I was about 13, I had my first client. That was basically someone looking for video editing support. And, I got paid $200 for that job. I think I did the numbers, and I would have paid myself maybe $5 an hour, if that. But I was 13, and $200 at the end of the day, $200 is massive.
Client at 13 as well. It was
it was awesome, so that was the first thing, and that was a video editing project that then the next year I ended up building a website for them, and those guys are still clients of ours today. So we've been through 3 iterations of their website since that original one that I built. Back then I was at school, obviously, and I did a work experience sort of period with them, and so on and so forth. So they've been very much part of that growth and journey that I've been through. And I've actually got 2 clients that I had when I was 13, between 13 and 15, who still work with us today. So that was sort of the genesis. It was in a similar space in video editing and web design development, but over the years, going through school and looking at the opportunities, I realized that there's much more room for growth, and our offering is much more solid if we can encompass it all and sort of give it to everyone as like a full service package. And that's how the marketing strategy side sort of came in. So over the last few years, we've evolved. When we started off, we had a different name. We were called New Main, which is sort of an amalgamation of the last bit of Germaine and the first bit of another name of mine, because I'm Sri Lankan and we've got a lot of names.
Classic name mixer.
Exactly. I mean, it was a very amateur move, but it worked at the time. But, I got a little bit over people saying, "Oh, New Main, it's like Germaine," but, as if I'd never heard it before.
As if you're like, no, it's this. It's like you start having taglines going, "Look, guys, this is what it means."
Exactly. This plus this equals this.
Yeah.
So we changed to Future Theory a few years ago, and I've got my younger brother on board as a co-founder as well now.
Family business.
Exactly. We're an Australian family business. He is an amazing developer. So he's left a job at an agency where he was senior developer. He became senior developer in his early 20s. So sort of gives you an idea of what his capacity
What's
is.
the competition between you guys like?
There's no competition.
You're winning.
Well, no, I just see him as he's really good at what he does, and I can't compete against that, and I don't need to.
It's overall not around like the Christmas dinner table, then,
Well, around the Christmas dinner table, it's interesting because my parents are very traditional. My sisters follow that very traditional route. So, she works at one of the big 4 consulting agencies. So again, that conversation's fairly muted, I would say, when it comes to work, because
that's quite an interesting one though, because in terms of family and environment around, when you were 13, did you know that you wanted to, obviously you knew you wanted to design websites and go into marketing, but did you know it would be for yourself? Did you know it was going to be like, oh, I'm going to make a business?
No, to be honest, when I was 18, 17, I was thinking I'd go down the software engineering route. We had neighbors when we lived in Sri Lanka who were really big into business. But I also saw how they used loans to inflate their lifestyle and how that got out of control. I've got other family members, close family members who are very big into business, and I've seen how it sort of ate away at their personal life just because they were so absorbed by it. They were consumed by business. Both my parents are quite entrepreneurial, I would say, but not in a business sense, just in more like they know how to hack things together. They know how to sort of get through life and make do with what they've got.
On a desert island, that'd be fine.
Exactly. They're the ones who would find solutions who'd be sorted, you know?
Yeah. Most entrepreneurs would be like, oh my God, what do I do?
Exactly. I don't have a computer. Where is Google? You know,
where's my PA?
Or my VA?
Modern times,
especially nowadays. Exactly. Get with it. So there was that sort of side where I knew my dad had been, he'd been given offers around entrepreneurial stuff and becoming manager, etc. But we just never went down that road because my parents grew up with not a lot, so they sort of instilled the values in us of just get a good job, preferably public service, buy a house off that job because you can now get a mortgage and
be stable.
That's it. Stability was just it, which makes sense.
Parents probably want for their kids anyway, no matter what sort of a culture or anything.
I would agree. But I guess for my parents, there was that undertone of they'd grown up in, through a civil war in Sri Lanka, a lot of unrest. They wanted stability. That was their bar for stability was much lower, I would say. They just wanted peace, and they just wanted a decent job, a decent income, nothing crazy. Nothing material, like apart from a house, no fancy cars. That was not what they were instilling in us.
You touched upon the balance aspect. How do you balance, business and personal life to make one work with the other?
For me, I find it's a compromise, right? It's just an never-ending conversation with my partner. It's a never-ending conversation with all my friends around me, and of course, just the beauty and the difficulty with having your own business is that you can work as much or as little as you want. And I find that some people get trapped in that because they decide, I'm going to have a 4-day work week. That's perfectly fine. But if your business can't sustain that, then, maybe you shouldn't be doing that. So I just find that it's just an ever evolving conversation of, oh, what are you doing this weekend? Okay, you're going to go get your nails done. I might duck into the office for a couple of hours, or, it's your turn to cook dinner tonight. I'll just be at work for an extra hour or two because, let's be honest, I would have just been playing FIFA in the lounge, being no help anyway. So that's my approach to it.
Open, super honest with each other.
Just gotta exactly. I mean, I'm very big on conversations. Just gotta chat, whether it's clients, whether it's partners, whether it's family. And I'm very big on recognizing when my body's sort of saying, I'm just tired. So I mentioned FIFA. Like, I love to unwind with some FIFA. Sometimes it's 11 p.m. Sometimes it's 7 p.m.
Xbox or PlayStation?
PS4.
Oh man, you can't be friends. Now they do like cross-platform playing, can't we? So it's
well, I don't believe in playing for any of that. I just I have my career team, and I'm all about just me, myself, and I. No chatting to friends, no cross.
You're like in the zone. You're just getting it. You're going through the championships.
That's it. Yes. I got Leeds United into the Premier League, so now I've just got to win the Premier League.
No pressure. Is it going to be real world event as well? Like with the coronavirus and they're stopping football, you now going to stop playing FIFA because you're like, no, I'm staying true to it.
No joke. I was thinking to myself, is FIFA going to do an update and sort of say, because in the game I'm in December 2020, what are they going to say? What are they going to do?
That'd be
I
cool.
think, yeah.
That'd be amazing if they did some sort of update and it just changed the way you play.
I think it'd be very interesting, if and what if a player gets coronavirus? Do they then get coronavirus in the game because you can download live updates and stuff
Yeah.
like that? Interesting thing. And I wonder if they'll now build, FIFA 2021 comes out with, your players can now get sick with an illness that no one knows how to cure,
That'd be super interesting if they do that. Anyway, we're digressing. Listen, back to future theory. I'm really curious to know where are you going with this? What's your plan over the next year? Like, what's your next building steps?
Yeah. So the plan for future theory is it's evolved a little bit. About 6 to 8 months ago, we launched our own podcast. We're launching a new website over the next few days. It's evolving so that I've hit a limit, and a lot of our staff have hit a limit of how much time they can dedicate one-on-one. So now I'm trying to, and that was part of the reason why the podcast was started, was trying to multiply sort of the number of people that we can help in one go. So the next steps for us is launching that new website. That'll be very sort of, one of the cornerstones will be content and sort of supportive content. So that's what it looks like moving forward, is having a lot more online resources and support as we grow, and then slowly grow the team in tandem.
Brilliant. Listen, for one of the really curious questions I'm also keen to ask is, how do you make sure that you guys stay relevant in the noise of like media marketing agencies?
We don't pay attention to it.
They don't even have Facebook, guys. Jeez.
Like, it's just a matter of running your own race. This is the thing,
Why do you think so? Okay, so I'll change the question then. Why do you think so many people do get caught up in the race?
Because they think that it matters. They think that the race is how you measure everything, right? Yep. But at the end of the day, no one's paying attention to the race. Let's be honest, right? Let's take your favorite football teams, okay? Take those favorite football teams and now talk to someone in the US. And when I say football, I mean soccer teams, right? Let's say EPL, you go for Manchester United, you're loving that, they've got that, they're sort of finally had a good streak. You talk to someone in the US, do you think they even know who, like, they might know who Manchester United are, but they probably think Cristiano Ronaldo still plays for them.
Yeah.
It's because people don't care. Like, I mean, I talk to my friends and they don't know who the best agency in Canberra is. They don't care. And do you think clients, I mean, let's be honest, right? If your clients have the time to look into that, they're probably not your ideal clients because they've got way too much free time.
And also you should probably really look at how you're selling to them anyway.
Exactly. If you that's it. If you're putting it back on them that they pick you because they pick someone else because they look like the one who's winning the race, then you really need to look at your website, your web presence, your content, and sort of go, there's something not right here because I'm not establishing the trust and I'm not doing what I need to be doing. So for me, it's quite simple. Like, just a really quick thing. One of my mentors, who was my boss at one time, I sort of mentioned to him, how do you know? Because I asked the same question, like, how do you know and how can you tell if you're losing compared with everyone else? Said, mate, just don't pay attention to anyone. He was in business. He had a clothing retailer in a fairly remote town. So, fairly difficult to get through. Like, fashion is very competitive, so on and so forth. And he said over his about 7 years of business, he had about probably 7 competitors open and close up shop while his business continued to grow. And then at one point, halfway through the 7 years, he actually purchased another store directly across the road, and he ran both businesses by himself. and continue to outlast everyone else. And he said he saw them come in going, and he would provide support, but it was never a competition, because you set the parameters within which you compete. That's the beauty of business. So, you can say that I'm only going to compete against, say, web development agencies in Canberra who develop locally in-house. Suddenly you've narrowed down, not in a way of cheating yourself, but in a way of going, that's if that's truly who you compete against, then that's it.
Yeah.
You don't have to compete against the people who are marketing machines going around selling $500 websites for $5,000, because that's unfair on you.
Yeah, of course.
And that's being way too kind to them.
Know your business as well, right? Know what
Exactly.
product.
Know who your market is, know what your product is, know what you're trying to do with it, and realize that first, no one else cares. And if you care enough, you should probably just be fair on yourself and look at really what you're doing versus what everyone else is doing. And ideally, you'll find that.
It's that classic saying, it's a marathon, not a sprint. A sprint's a race, a marathon's your own race.
And not just that, but I think a lot of people have sort of arbitrary dates or milestones by which they have to, achieve this and this.
Those 10K, isn't it? It's like the marketing sexiness of the 10K month.
Exactly. And to me, I tell everyone who comes on board is that I see what we're doing as an uphill battle, not in a negative way, but in a way that we've got to work. And genuinely, I'd be happy if I get over that, the crest a day before I die. Just in a sense of, I want to continue to be driven. So, because I set the parameters for us, and everyone hopefully sets their own parameters within which they compete. Once you start to push and say win within those parameters, then you move the goalposts. Just because you got to keep pushing yourself.
Yeah. That's what's crazy about us entrepreneurs. We have that inner pushing no matter what. When your back's against the wall, you push. When you're winning, or when when you're ahead on your, whatever the word we want to use, is you're still pushing. I think that's what a lot of people from the outside in seem to miss a lot of the time, in terms of like the mindset that people like us have, which is super interesting the way you're phrasing it. Germaine, listen, my final question to you is, if you could give 3 tips to a business owner to sort of, I guess, with your expertise, it's probably to maybe stand out from that crowd a little bit. What do you think those 3 tips should be?
Okay, one very, very simple one. Look at all your platforms that you're trying to actively engage on and engage with, and strip it down to just maybe one. Okay, that seems like counterintuitive, but just strip it down to one thing. Then take that one thing and start creating content on that platform, whatever it may be. So ideally, it would be something like YouTube or your own website. I wouldn't recommend, say, trying to build out a huge fan base on Facebook, just simply because, Mark Zuckerberg could wake up tomorrow and decide that they don't like Steve's socks and shut it down tomorrow. It's a bit scary. It's a bit scary because you don't have that control. So start generating content there, and then the other thing is, while you're doing that, simultaneously get out there and talk to real people in the real world and give them your contact details. Give them business cards. People say business cards are dead. No, I don't think they're ever going to die, because they're just so convenient. I mean, saying business cards are dead is like saying junk mail or catalogs are dead. They're not. They're simply not. There's just no more convenient way. Completely. And I think that time and place is most of the time in most places. It's just having that tangible thing. It's a market. It's a psychological exercise. It's saying, this is who I am.
I do think it's about teaching people how to present themselves. The amount of networking events I've gone to, and it's like before they even introduce their name, they've put their business card in my hand.
Oh, definitely. The business card is sort of like inviting someone out to dinner or someone over for dinner. It's something that you do once you've got to know them and once you've made sure that there's a synergy. It's not something that you just go, hi, business card, I'm Germaine.
I started running my own events because I was fed up of having that happen at events, and now at my own events, it never happens. But people still
love it.
It's great.
Yeah, exactly. But so those are the three tips, and the way that works is that while you're building out, so you've narrowed down to one platform, so you're going to own that platform for yourself and for your niche, and you're going to generate content, so you're providing value, and then when you start networking with people in real life, you would ideally funnel them back to that platform so they can get value from you even before they've paid you a cent. And then that to me is a perfect sort of business model where that's just a cyclical thing. They get value out of you, they build trust, they come ask you for more expertise within what you're doing, and there's a huge industry for giving out general advice, but then giving out specific advice that people pay for.
Exactly. Listen, Germaine, thank you so much for those 3 tips. If anyone wants to get in touch with you, speak to you directly, speak to you more about Future Theory, what's the best way for them to do that?
Best way is to go to futuretheory.com.au, literally the words future and theory. On the logo behind me that I keep cutting off with my head. That's all I'm going to give you because that's just the best way to get in touch with me. That'd be the hello@futuretheory.com.au email address on there. That'll come to me as well. So I'll see that if you address me, I'll be sure to reach out to you.
Fantastic. Germaine, thank you so much for coming on. You've been amazing. Our conversation has been amazing. So I really appreciate your time.
No worries, Steven. Thanks for joining me, and thanks for turning up at the end of your day. I'm sure you've had a big one. And
It's like a
it's not
great end to my day and a fantastic start to yours.
indeed.
Thanks again, and thanks everyone for listening and watching. This has been Founders 365.
Thanks, guys.